Well, we're gonna give a few minutes for some other folks to sign on. I'm sitting here with Shawn Owens, our guest speaker, and
Hello.
Mara. Y'all know, some of you know Mara, some of you don't. Shawn, I haven't seen Shawn in like 3 or 4 years, I think. So I'm a little giddy. I'm like a little kid in a candy store. uh, so Shawn's wife worked with us 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. And and I guess we met in that process, and then took the permaculture course.
Yeah, I took the permacultural design course, and that's where a little bit our bromance began, I suppose.
Hey man,
They were running around the property.
uh, yeah, we have some others that might join us in person too. So we're just, if that happens, we're just going to get closer and closer. Going to keep stacking in here. We just had a thunderstorm pass, so we may we may have good service, but it usually freezes every once in a while. So if that happens, y'all just raise your hand or something, or make a funny face. While we're waiting, in case anybody else joins, I actually wanted to tell Shawn about this too and explain this little thing. This is our Tree Scout logo, Treehouse Trade School logo. So if you don't know, the Treehouse Trade School is a resilient community development organization, and our goal is to create a curriculum that covers all things necessary to develop a resilient community. So my history is in construction. That's where it started, construction, metal fabrication. Then I got into permaculture, and in doing so, I realized that in trying to teach a lot of people how to do construction, I realized that there was almost a, for lack of better words, like a learning disability because of inner work that needed to be done. Like sometimes if I'd work with someone who had like a father wound or issues with their parents, and I reminded them of their dad because of something I said, they wouldn't be able to learn. And in fact, like one time, it wasn't even anything I said. I just one of the guys picked up a saw and his hand started shaking right away, and he was like, "Oh man, my dad used to yell at me all the time when I tried to help." So he's like, "I don't know if I can make this cut." And I realized that, like, that was just one example, but I realized there's a whole bunch of personal development, coaching, like spiritual work that needed to be done in order for people to effectively be able to learn anything, really. So I started to get an interest in psychology, which Jenny's doing psychology degree right now too. But I developed this logo first, the top half of this logo, as the Tree Scout. Our goal with the trade school is this is actually, it looks like a tree, but it's actually the person. And the goal is to create an environment where the person can be fully developed to their divine purpose, like a tree growing out in the middle of nowhere, or like in the middle of an opening that can grow to its full growth spectrum and not be restricted by other trees, and it has everything it needs, all the right nutrition, all the right water, and then in order to get this, what we need is this, which is the root system. This is what you don't see in an individual, and that's the education and the life experience. So I wrote a book called 71 Solutions, and it's broken down into 7 layers of sustainability. So there's like 7 main roots here, and each one of these roots correlates to the different layers. So there's ecology, sustenance, build or shelter, energy, economy, governance, but the taproot, the main one, here in the center is community. And then the main part of that community is you. So the idea is to create the curriculum so that all of these routes are filled out. So there'll be hundreds of different teachers, and becoming a teacher is like step one is being a guest speaker, where you show up and kind of introduce yourself, what you do, and then ideally you can help create the curriculum where whatever your specialty is. So Shawn's a minister, so if he wanted to create some curriculum around in that field, or even in permaculture or mission work, whatever you're doing, you could create some curriculum. And then what we're doing there to be able to monetize it for everyone is we have an affiliate link that we're creating, or that we've created. So we give you an affiliate link, and then once you create a class, we'll actually advertise for the class that you create with your affiliate link. So instead of like, we could either pay somebody to make classes, or you could make the class, we can make it with you, and then we'll spend that money on advertising to get people to sign up for the class. And everybody that signs up, and you get a certain percentage. So we've got I think we have a 12% affiliate link that we're offering right now. So that's anybody watching, anybody this video has been recorded to, it's going up on YouTube. So anybody that has something to contribute to resilient community development that you think is necessary or would be a good idea, you can create a class, and then we can put together an advertisement, give you an affiliate link. So it's a way if everybody's got their own boats, it's a way that we are rising the sea level, and all boats are rising together. And there are, I say 150, but there's hundreds of, really thousands of classes, hundreds of teachers that are needed. So I like to introduce that and open with that, and just as a reminder that everybody's necessary. It is like, if you feel like you're just a small part, or you don't know what your place is or whatever, like, just keep going. You are needed. You are a major contribution to your community wherever you are. So keep on moving. So,
Amen.
let's I'm gonna see if anybody else is signed on real quick. Oh, there's Ariel's back too. All right, so I think we just have two people. Shawn, you want to open it with a little prayer for you, sir?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'll pray. Father God, we come before you today. We just are so thankful to gather together, Lord. Just gathering, and what Scott teaches and preaches, Lord, is that community. So we just pray, Lord, that we'll come together tonight as community to grow and to learn, and just to fellowship with one another, Lord. And thank you so much for what Scott does, Lord, and just thank you for what he's been in my life. Lord, thank you for his mentorship and his friendship and his brotherhood. Lord, I just pray, Lord, that you'll just continue to give him clarity here at the Treehouse Project. Lord, continue to give him the strength to pave the way, and the endurance to finish the race, Lord. And Lord, may we just all be enlightened, Lord, to your purpose and your will. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, so as far as coming up with a class, man, I feel like I would just be, reinventing the wheel for kind of what I've kind of been utilizing that you gave me here back in 2020. So in 2020, I've had the opportunity of coming and taking Scott's permaculture design course. And in that time, I was in a little bit of I wouldn't say a little bit, a pretty big transition myself. I was just coming out of 8.5 years of military service, dealing with a lot of stuff as far as post-traumatic stress, physical injury, kind of re-geared myself for a new career, another career. And in the process of the things that, God was doing in my life. And also that was the time that my wife and I were starting a veterans nonprofit that was focused on guys that were, anywhere from having substance abuse issues to homeless, just whatever, just focusing on the vets in our area. So with that being said, I found myself in Scott's permaculture design course, and we're going through the course and we're going through this design. What I can't help but to notice is that the design mechanism for permaculture was really just a mechanism that I could overlay into my life to either clarify some things, to bring things to light, whether it be skills, gifts, or traumas from the past, like you said. Like, you know, we all come from our own background. You know, each one of us have our own worst. You know, and everybody's worst is different. You know, my worst is different than yours. But either way, you know, I had that. The problem was I didn't understand how to really process or digest a lot of what was going on with the transition to get a clear view and handle on what I needed to do for the nonprofit, what I needed to do ministry wise. I was completing my master's at the time, and I was really needing someone to give me that standing ground, that good, you know, that ground, solid foundation to kind of get my bearings. And what I noticed was that the process, you know, observe, interact, catch, and store energy applies through self-regulation. All of these things I could just apply to Shawn, and I was coming out with a product that I could work with, that I could manage, you know. And so what kind of from the permaculture design, the plan for myself to come and to gain that was to implement permaculture into the environment that we were offering for vets to come off the street, come out of rehab, whatever. You know, it's that restart was going to involve this process. What I didn't realize was that design, that course, that design process that I'd gotten from you wasn't going to be setting up their physical environment, but it was going to be to help establish their spiritual. And that's kind of what I came to Scott about. And I said, hey, you know, what kind of triggered him inviting me tonight was, hey, man, you know, I'm having outstanding success with taking these permaculture design principles and just utilizing them in a sense to just work with someone spiritual, you know, to work with a vet spiritually for discipleship. I'm also a church planner. We recently planted a church in rural Pennsylvania that's targeting areas that's low income, that doesn't have pastors, that churches are closing. So we're trying to put a model that doesn't really, that's low cost, that's community thriving, not necessarily a church with a brand, right? So again, you know, the same thing. I'm just applying these permaculture design principles to these church, to the church plan.
Can you give us an example of like, I think you mentioned permaculture principle and helping somebody get through rehab? Or
Sure, absolutely, 100%. So like, just let's walk through, you know, kind of what we learned, you know, that you started off with in the first day of class in the permaculture design. And it's that process that you go, and first it's observe and interact, right? So understanding, you know, the natural rhythms of a system is big before we jump in and intervene in permaculture, right? Well, it's no different than when we're dealing with someone with substance abuse or yourself. It's observe, see what the natural patterns are. You know what I'm saying? Whether everything from the substance being utilized to what their hobbies are, what the mechanisms of their life, observing that, right? Because here's the thing, the church is trying to bring Jesus to all these people, but if you don't know why this person needs Jesus, how in the world are we going to help them, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's just that observe, interact. When it comes to catch and store the energy, right? Well, looking at that the way we're doing that is whether it's going to be the 12 steps, they're going to be their 12 steps they're going to be working, or is it going to be a discipleship class? Is it going to be recovery meetings? What is it going to be that you're going to catch and involved in the church, serving on the mission trip, right? And then the next you're going to look at use your value of renewable resources, right?
And real quick, so all these things that Shawn's mentioning are permaculture principles. This is the permaculture designer's manual, and they'll be outlined not as much in here actually as in David Holmgren's book, the permaculture. He's got a book on permaculture principles. But all of these that he's mentioning, capture and store energy. There's 12 basic principles. If you Google it, you can Google it right now. Google permaculture principles. It is what I tell people when they first start to print this out. Like print that out and hang it on your wall and apply it to everything you do in life. And that's what Shawn's talking about right now.
Well, and it's kind of just going back. Let's go back to that first one, observe and interact. It's the same thing that Jesus says in Luke chapter 5:16. He goes away, he gets away, and he prays and meditates on the situation.
Yeah.
James, he says, be quick to listen and slow to speak. You know what I mean? So in our personal interaction with veterans or people or whoever I'm dealing with, someone that's, seeking recovery, those are the most important things, and this is funny that I make this, but Marilyn Manson quoted one time, the singer, who I'm talking about, right? He was asked, what would you say to the kids at Columbine Hospital? Remember Columbine, the shooting that happened so long ago? He said, well, I wouldn't say anything to them. I'd ask them what they wanted to say. And him saying that impacted me so much because, I think that it's just a common problem that we have across the board is not hearing each other out, again, not listening to that person that might be hard to teach because they have that father fear from being yelled at. So. We just got visitors here, so.
What's up, folks? Hey, man, what's your name?
Andrew.
What is it?
Andrew.
Andrew. What's up? I'm Scott.
I'm Shawn.
Mara.
Hey.
Hey, Marie.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, y'all can sit over here if you want. Or
I
you can...
had to the phone when I was walking up.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, we have Jenny and Ariel on with us.
Okay.
And of course, we're recording. Shawn is just recapping for. Yeah, you can sit over there. You can pull up a stool from over there. I said we were going to keep crunching together. People keep coming.
He gets a little.
He was great. Yeah, he did great.
Did he come out far?
Yeah, he was just sitting there on the desk with the cat. He had two cats. That's Chihuahua.
So Shawn is a minister. He's a good friend from way back, and he took my permaculture course. And he's talking about how he's applying permaculture to all kinds of stuff, especially ministry work he's doing. He's just kind of talking about the permaculture principles.
Yeah. I've always joked with Scott. I told him, that he's teaching people how to be Jedi, because what I used to say, that's why I call that the Jedi.
Multi-tool now
Yeah,
with that thing out there.
There you go. That's your lightsaber. But, because I would literally, when I was going through this, I felt like I was striking gold. I was like, man, this is literally going to be the mechanism of how we get to people. And, and this is, and I'm not sure if you quoted Bill, but this is from your class. You said, the whole point is to stop intrinsic loss and restore integrity.
Yeah, buddy.
There's that is the whole point of what God is talking about through God's word after Genesis 3, right? We had the entry come into the garden. From then on, what we're trying to do is restore that integrity back to the original start. What was God coming down to do in Genesis 3? To walk with us, right? He showed up to walk, but there was the separation. So the whole point is to get back to where we're back in the walk. You know what I mean? So so it's I carry that quote everywhere I go. I usually have to explain what entropy is. And that was something that permaculture, that was some of the verbiage that was introduced and to me. But going on another one of those principles is use and value renewable resources. And this is just big because one of those things, our renewable resource as, you know, a child of God is in his creation is obviously like his grace, what his creation, you know, entails for us. You know, and I kind of look at that, you know, like permaculture, you know, like I guess that would be something like sun, maybe, you know what I'm saying? But it's something that uh, is big. And, you know, in John chapter 5, verse 19, this is Jesus where he completely relied completely on the Father, nothing else beyond. So, you know, I think that, you know, there's something to that along with, again, a lot of this I focus to work with veterans and recovery. Um, and when you're working with when you're in the step work, steps 1 through 3 are absolutely imperative to be relinquishing to a higher power, whatever that is in your life, you know. And I'm also, you know, a lot of times people, you know, find out I'm a minister, or pastor, you know, that's a shocker, pull away, but I am the believer in the fact of whatever you believe it, whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? Like whether that, you know, whatever that would be deemed, whatever denomination or whatever religious practice, you know, from all aspects, whether it be from um, Islam to new spirituals, be devout. You know what I mean? Because we are created to be spiritual people. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. You know what? I'm just like, you've reignited something we've talked about in the past, was creating a permaculture course in alignment with, oh, are we good? Can y'all hear us all right? Did we freeze? Okay. We talked about creating a permaculture course in alignment with scripture at one point. You remember that?
yeah, absolutely.
And there's so many things that you just laid a couple of them out. But when you were saying use and value renewable resources, you know, in the permaculture world, you're thinking about the SUN, sunlight,
Right.
and water, right? But and in the spirit world, it's like the SON, you know, and that's that one infinite energy available,
Absolutely.
the spirit,
Absolutely.
the spirit of God within you, and what Christ did for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. John 4 is a perfect example of that, where he meets this Samaritan woman at the well, you know, um, and he tells her, you know, hey, I'm the living water. You know, the reason that's so significant is because at those times, you would want the best water you could provide, right? And so the higher social class you had, the closer to a better water resource you had. And, you know, this woman, she's like, hey, listen, we have this well, right? And it's like, dude, I've got something better than just that still well water, right? I'm the living water. And I love her immediate reaction to when Jesus said, I'm the living water, and she said that she wanted some, she immediately goes and gets everyone else. And that's exactly in permaculture, you know, after we store it and save it and all that, we got to share it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's that you know, I don't even remember the 5 S's exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all right. The 5 S's of water. This will be your quiz. I always do this when I give people tours. I got a song for it too. I made a song that's like, yeah.
I was pre-song.
Okay. Slow the water down, spread the water out, soak the water in, store it and share it. You keep going with it.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Wait, say that again?
Say it or sing it.
Yeah, slow the water
So I was like, that's good.
Wait, slow, yeah, wait, slow it down. Okay.
Slow the water down, spread the water out, soak the water in, store it and share it.
Yeah.
You got the gestures you can do with it.
And well, you know, mentioning water, you know, kind of like day 1 in the permaculture design course, Scott's like, you know, it's all about water and soil. And it's like, well, I mean, that makes sense that like that's what we are. right? You know what I mean? Like it's from creation, you know what I mean? You know, why wouldn't this apply to us? You know,
Yeah.
kind of what triggered, you know, that going down. You know, another thing that's very important in a lot of the work that I do, and again, like I know I'm speaking a lot from the side of recovery, but working with veterans, uh, the majority of veterans that are dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder are also dealing with secondary drug and alcohol abuse. So that was kind of why we were drawn to fill that gap of you know working with those guys.
You said it was secondary drug?
Secondary, yeah. So like when they're diagnosed by the Veteran Affairs, the VA, it'll you know you'll have a percentage of disability tied to post-traumatic stress disorder, and then it's usually always secondary diagnosed with um, drug and alcohol. So, um, so with that being said, the other principle is apply self-regulation and feedback. And Scott's example to this was like if a swell fills up with water and then starts to overpour, right? So you obviously with the water filling up, you know that it holds water there, and you know where kind of the tipping point is, or I don't know what's the verbiage for that key point, maybe
Well,
where water would overflow,
the spillway.
the spillway. Okay. Well, it's the same thing with us. Like, you know, after we observe and we interact, through that time of observing, we're going to see the areas that fill up and overflow in our life, right? And you're going to be able to measure your reactions. You're going to be able to measure what triggers, you know what I'm saying? What triggers you have. Like, you know, same thing, just kind of hitting on what you said earlier with, is it like a trauma from child, you know, being yelled at by your parent. But either way, that applying that self-regulation is gonna you're seeing the areas that, you know, I'm gonna keep going back to where they're gonna overflow, where your spillways are. You know, like I was speaking to Scott earlier about I was doing the same thing to myself. I was able to observe that here lately I've been thin on patience, right? And you know, so that took me going back and observing, you know, why am I losing my patience? What's eating at it? What's triggering me? You know what I mean? Just that evaluation, just that self-regulation.
You know, on that, um, so some of y'all might know that we're doing. I don't know if I told you this. We're doing adventure series book for Miles and Abel. You know about that? So at the Adventures of Miles and Abel, we're going like the three of us are going on adventures, and then we're taking a bunch of pictures and we're recording and we're creating homeschooling curriculum along with that.
Very cool.
But instead of, well, we're also, in addition to math, science, geology, and language, we're doing spirituality, healthy snacking, and permaculture. So like all health and wellness. And I was on this last trip, there were 3 permaculture principles, and I think you mentioned them all, but self-regulate and accept feedback was one of them, and I taught him that. And I was like, 'cause we went up in an airplane, and the pilot's like, all right, when we're coming and going from the runway, I need talking to a minimum. And like my boys, like we're coming in on the runway, and he's talking to the airport, and my boys start talking. I turn around, I was like, shut it out. And they were like, I thought he said talking to a minimum. Doesn't that mean we can still talk? And I was like, well, technically yes, but I'm like, no, what that really means is don't talk. I'm like, mouth closed, ears open. And so yeah, it's like you can teach it to your kids.
Absolutely.
You know? So cool.
Absolutely. So yeah, so kind of a lot of that stuff is more observable and kind of stuff that's already, you know, kind of going on, but something that utilized and probably had the greatest success with pulling from your course or pulling from just permaculture was taking someone's life, taking my life, taking whether that be someone we're working with or we're ministry to, and zoning their life out.
Zones, yeah.
So breaking it down, like what do you do every day? What do you do every week? What do you do every month? What do you do? You know, like, cause I mean, it's deep. And you know, someone in recovery would automatically say, well, that's inventory. And no, this is beyond. Inventory will be ended. All right.
So let me explain the zones. real
Yeah, go
quick.
ahead. He's gonna explain his own.
All right, so I don't know if I can turn to it quickly or not, but zones, I don't need a book for it. Zones are a proximity of use, essentially. If, yeah, so if you think about a target, like picture a target, not the store, but like a target that has zero, it's zones 1 or 0 through 5. So 0 in the middle, and then 5 is way out at the edge of the target. And zones 0 is you, your body. Zone 1 is like your house and where you live, where you park. So zone 1 is every day. Zone 2 is every week, like things you want to get to once a week. And then zone 3 is things you want to get to once a month. Zone 4 is things you want to get to once a year. And zone 5 is stuff that you never have to get to, but you can go to if you want. So when you're designing a garden, you're looking at like the highest maintenance things in your garden are going to be real close in your zone 1. It's going to be right in between where you park and your front door, so you can see it. You can see when the tomatoes are ripe or if there's a pest on your plant. And then the undisturbed wilderness is going to be the zone 5. And zone 5 doesn't necessarily have to be out the outside of the target. Zone 5 can like come in and touch zone 0 if you want it to, you know. So if you want to have that access, or maybe you want to have access to every day you want to go walking in the undisturbed wilderness, you would have that zone 5 come and connect to your house. So when he's talking about zones, that's where we're at.
Absolutely. So just taking that and putting that in application. This has probably been, when it comes to working with guys in recovery, vets in recovery, that's probably been the most impactful. The most recent guy that I've been working with, a veteran, local to the Clemson area. I kind of told him what we were doing and just asked him, shared with him kind of the meaning behind the madness. And I said, what was the most impactful to you? And he was absolutely his own, like, you know what I mean? Because it was, believe it or not, guys who like to boost up and do a lot of drugs probably could use some zoning structure in life,
So how can you explain again how you help them with that with the zones?
Absolutely. So, the things in your life, like zone 0 that you're wanting to be touching every day, there would be like your high maintenance garden areas that you want every day. It's going to be like your devotion time, your meeting, your sponsor, you know what I mean? The stuff that you got to do every day to maintain your sobriety or maintain whatever it is you're trying to achieve. That would be in that. And what are the things you need to touch twice a week? Is that seeing mom, dad? Is that seeing your kids? Is that seeing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be different for each one, but actually, putting the pen to paper of zoning your life out, like putting it on a map, is actually, what we do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We need to do a course that's permaculture design your life.
Absolutely. That's what I said. I feel like you've already been you've already taught the course. It's just applying it to a little bit different perspective.
And y'all are welcome to squeeze in here, John. What's up, guys?
Hi,
how you doing?
What's up, man? Shawn, nice to meet you.
What's up, brother?
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? I'm blanking. Sorry. How many names? Joseph. That's right. Sorry.
And John. Nice to meet you, Joseph.
Yeah. I need pictures of everyone because I met too many people all at once. Sorry. I know.
Yeah, when you came with Zara, it was a lot.
Yeah. And I also got too many things in my mind. I don't remember my mother's name. You know what I mean? Just kidding, Mom, if you ever watch this. Yeah, and on here we have Jenny, Ariel, and Jay. I think Jay's actually in the Earth Zone. And Shawn has been talking about permaculture design, using permaculture design for ministry and the work he's doing. He's doing a lot of church planting and ministry work. And I just finished talking about zones. So you're in the midst of talking about the zone, zone 0, 1. Okay. You were saying zone 1 was like maybe family or
Yeah, like so, like
kids or something.
yeah. So zone 0, your stuff that you would want to touch every day, like your word, your devotion, whatever that is, your TED talk, whatever that is, that's that source of energy that you're taking in, and then build it out from there. From there, things weekly, monthly. The same way it would be through a garden, just looking at more of what relationship, God, and that's kind of how a lot of during the course, a lot of this kind of got started because I was doing I literally took the zone map that I was doing for my design at the time, and then I emplaced it with Shawn, right? You know what I mean? And just built out. So, just kind of putting my life on the map there. The next thing that kind of leads into is where the book talks about translation, right? And how, everything is useful for something. You said it, and how everything is going to flow and everything we're going to touch. Everything that we do daily is a lot more kinetic than what we give it credit for. Everything feeds into something. It's like what you were saying earlier about, as Scott was saying, I can feel like I'm stressed out or I'm carrying a lot of stress. When you sit down and do some breath work, you realize, that you're not carrying, you don't have that. You're free of that. Well, it's the same way, but it's putting a picture to it, of showing what is going to flow and affect everything.
Yeah, man. Made me think of in the tessellation realm and this group, these folks here that just showed up. There is I realized in traveling one time I was traveling around and I stopped in like Massachusetts for a couple days and I was sitting in this room, my back to the door, and somebody walked in and I started talking. I was like, that sounds exactly like my friend Mark. And I turned around and I was like, wow, that looks exactly like my friend Mark too. And it turns out he was the owner of a mechanic shop, and my friend Mark is the owner of a restaurant. And then I met like a couple other people, and they were like these it was like a group of 6 people or so, and they all reminded me of my other friends back home. And there's this, so tessellation is like this stacking, like interlocking puzzle, maybe to be tessellated, or a honeycomb would be tessellated.
Same pattern repeated on itself over and over and over again.
Yeah, and or a similar pattern. Yeah, it's not always like with I guess it's a similar pattern, but interlocking something that so what I realized in traveling was like this. There's, you all heard of the 7 degrees of separation or 6 degrees of separation? Well, it's like if you know 6 people, through those 6 people or 7 people or whatever it is, you know everybody in the world. Because like that person knows the person knows the person knows President Trump, whatever, So these groups of people, it's like if you get 6 or 7 people together, you can conquer the world. I mean, like in a good way. Right. I mean, you can. Yeah, and a lot of times those groups, like you guys, are a really solid group of friends that have just connected and like are doing already amazing energy working together. And there's another group of folks like you somewhere else that is like, it's like tessellated with you, and like, and Sarah is a connection point to that. I call her Sarah still, you're right. But she's like the connection point, right? So it's like now y'all's group is coming together with Treehouse group.
You've been in your dresses, so I can tell.
Yeah.
You've been in your dresses.
We had to bring the brick.
Yeah. Sorry, tangent, no tangent.
I am.
It's very light. Now think about that. And now think about that constantly in the virtual world. Because everything's infinite. So you can just, this reality, you pick them. Imagine how much.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, but that's how.
My permaculture is how you remember that now you're harnessing the new time. And then you tap in just to support what you said. I'm going off on a tangent now, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So water. Water is after we learn water. It's not structured, it's nothing. Same thing as building a house, if you don't have a foundation. You have to have a foundation in water. So when you're talking about using water in permaculture, you're talking about using high frequency structured information, light. So first you have to start in. That's why I said when we start changing the water within you, we can start changing our thoughts and start creating the permaculture that actually is.
Explain what you mean by different.
So, like, structured water is communicating with on a cellular level,
Okay.
the cellular networking in the body. And if your cells don't have the right type of structure, which the thing that structures the cells in the body, hi everyone, the thing that structures the cells in the body is high frequency water. And what is high frequency water? It's structured water, like coconut water, water that has copper, magnesium, minerals. Yeah, silica, mother, information is what we need in the soil. But first, we have to put the information in ourselves. You understand? Just like the moon and the sun and so on, important when we plant the seed and when you harvest, right? Saying we have to get right within. And otherwise you won't be able to communicate you won't be able to connect to the earth.
That's so good.
Properly. Yeah, we won't be able to connect to the earth properly. And that's what we're doing. We are taking back our sovereignty, our connection to the earth. Like it's always remembering. You can't remember if you don't have the right structural cellular network. You got to start with the structured water within. We got to put back the copper and the magnesium and the zinc and get the minerals and restructure ourselves. And then we need to start connecting with the sun and getting the light, getting the information, and you'll start seeing everything on the outside transform because we'll know what to do. We won't have to read it in the book. It's written in our DNA. Yeah.
That's what the theme gospel of peace, or we were looking at earlier, and I've been reading, and it's been translated, and with it, it's been translated from it's Jesus talking to a bunch of people like he does in the Bible, but it's like an expanded version of it, and he's talking about communing with the angel of sunlight and the angel of earth and the angel of air and the angel of water, and like doing that with the food. And I mean, it kind of goes to the extreme of you're not supposed to eat food that's been frozen or been cooked. And somebody asked, like, well, how are we supposed to cook our bread? And he's like, well, take your grains, grind it, mix it with water so that it can commune with the angel of water. And then, and the grain itself is the angel of earth. And then set it out into the angel of sunlight to sprout the grains and it can, and then do that the next day as well. Then you can eat the bread. And I was like, what the heck, Jesus said to have a job again, you know,
The way we are learning how to breathe now, have you noticed everybody's learning more about our breath work?
Yeah, that's what Shawn and
But I
was
just,
talking
yeah,
about.
let that kind of factor like years ago. Like,
You've been practicing.
it's
your
been a
breath
game
work.
changer.
It has, definitely. Guess what it produces inside your body? Structured water. No, you're right. What is DMT though? You wouldn't have DMT without the structured water.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not going to lie. That finding that out was the extent in intense breath work. Yeah, absolutely. So I've been doing. I learned about Wim Hof breath work. That's when I started. Okay, I used to watch Joe Rogan a lot, and I found him on that podcast. Then I've been super into breath work since then. Because for me, like it took 30 years for me to figure out like my emotions. So like finding out that I can just breathe to get rid of the emotions that are just like popping up and it's like so freeing and like the first step is fixing your thought. Like I feel this way, I can't get rid of it. I'll just breathe. You know, just breathe. Take a deep breath. Take like 5 deep breaths.
But how you do it though? That's what has been like mind blowing for me years ago. Is like you can stop a panic attack by just taking a 3 like short breath through your nose. Like
Well, I think
you can
we
drop
take
it.
because we think it's like so reactionary. I think maybe take a breath for granted. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were driving here and there was a moment, there was like, I was feeling this like weird energy and I'm like, I look at him and I'm like, we're not breathing. Should we take a few breaths here, Joe? Like, and then it's just like, oh, now we're free again. Like, what are we doing?
Holding our breath like that.
The kind of people you want to ride with on a rainy day. They don't fog the windows.
It's better for us to fog the windows in this case.
Yeah, it's okay to get foggy. Yeah, we need to.
Well, Shawn, you have any other?
No, that was it. It was, permaculture, really, going through the PDC was, I mean, it was really life changing, but, I was at a point where I was wanting to want some changes, right? And this was the process that, God introduced, to me through Scott. So I'm very thankful. It was because it was something that not only helped me change and develop, but it was something that I get, to pass on and to share. And I've been able to take permaculture design to Brazil. I've been able to take it to Guatemala, the things we're doing in Pennsylvania and West Virginia. So, appreciate it so much. The last plug that I'll make is on that book, Pattern Language.
Yeah.
Been like fantastic, man. It's one of the best books. Absolutely good.
Yeah.
Read through.
So this book, y'all, this is what inspired 71 Solutions as well. If you're gonna travel with this book, because so it comes out. It's got like these short chapters. The title of the book or the title of the chapter says a lot. It says 4-story limit. That's pretty much explains like don't build any taller than 4 stories. And then it'll say, and so it's only like a couple pages, but it'll highlight in bold. There is an abundant evidence to show that high buildings make people crazy. And then it goes in more detail about it. So what have you been doing?
Same thing as with the permaculture design course, using it very allegorical, using it, analogies just kind of to transfer over from, the physical community building to the, to that of what a church or, like I say, that of our veterans communities. So good for travel if you're going to be building, essentially.
Like, why was what it said, if you travel, bring this book with
Oh,
you.
yeah, okay, so expanding on that, this book is like a key to what it is successful patterns, best practices throughout history and from around the world. So they've collected all these patterns, put it into one book.
Like one of the examples is like if you're gonna take, you're gonna build, make your perimeter in a circle, right? Because it shows that versus a square, how people are most likely to travel, right? And so you're gonna get more business frequented by people making, or like if you're gonna travel across, you know what I mean? You have that, you're catching that movement of people across. Like it's just tidbits of what you're saying, patterns that were very successful there, different types of infrastructure.
So I like to travel with it. I took it to Barcelona with me when I went, and I noticed for one of them is steps as seating. So if you build a set of steps, it can function as more than just steps, but it can function like our steps in the house.
I said there.
When we have a potluck, there's like everybody sitting on the steps because they're wide enough that people can go up the steps and sit on it as well. And when you said it there in Barcelona, this book said 4-story limit. That's funny because that's the one I opened to. In Barcelona, there's a 5-story limit, but the first floor is all businesses in Barcelona, and then there's 4 floors of living. But the cool thing about it is all of the buildings are 5 stories. So you can go up to the top of any building and see the landscape. You can see the roll of the hills. You can look across, and the only buildings that are taller than that are these like beautiful monuments that stick up, churches and government buildings. And so you can see the beauty of everything. No building straighten out another building, you know, just really well done. So it's just cool to travel with it so that you can recognize those patterns as you're traveling in different cultures, different climates around the world. Yeah. So Shawn, just recapping real quick, you're planting churches in Pennsylvania, and then you're doing some mission work in Brazil, doing you told me you're helping family style foster homes. That's right. And then that's where there's some interest in permaculture, like people do permaculture. So permaculture farm.
The area that we're involved in is in like northwest state of Sao Paulo, and it's the area called Aguas de Lindoia. It's Aguas de Lindoia, and so it's a pretty large city of 15,000-16,000 people. But on those outskirts, they have 2 or 3 sites, like I say, the family style foster homes. And one of the sites, the primary site, is built on an old fishing ranch. So the desire there is to just to continue to update and design what he has and implement more and more. But one of the missionaries that helps out with that orphanage is who I got to share the permaculture design course with, because his name is DeAndre from Atlanta, Georgia. And I got down there, I met DeAndre, and he said, hey, I'm moving into a permaculture farm. And I was like, man, that's really cool. I just took a permaculture design course. And he was like, that's awesome. Can you tell me what permaculture is? And I was like, yeah, man, I think I can, So it was something very new. Something down in there in Brazil is they're big on the title, right? So they're big on the title of it being permaculture. Like it's like that's on their, that's on the side. It's
they definitely need to get a certification.
right? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what they're trying, they're looking to implement more on their farms to house missionaries, and then also the
So I think we need some things that just came since Shawn's been here. One of it's restarted, but I definitely want to go down to Brazil for that and help them with that. That's like something you talked about. We talked about before, and like whenever I hear about something like that, I'm like, I want to go right now. Yeah. But we need to get we need to get Treehouse Trade School, sustainable, financially sustainable, so we can support our team and be able to go do work in different places. The other thing I think we should do is the Permaculture Your Life. We should do, we do a New Year's resolution manifestation event. It's an annual event that we do where it's like we're helping people. I just
Why didn't you just tell me to permaculture your life? Permaculture your life tomorrow. I had a whole breakdown the other day, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do with myself, and I'm all over, and I'm scattered, and pretty much what I'm saying is he should have just told me to permaculture my life.
Well, you need to go sleep in the Jedi. That's part of it too.
That you're there, like, I made so much sense.
Ultimately, though, that's what he said.
Yeah.
It's in a different.
Well, and then I'd really like to do we already have a permaculture ministry. I started a small group at, did I say about it? Yeah. I started a small group at Alive Wesleyan, church that I started going to because I helped do some construction, and I went, the pastor was funny, but every time I went, I'd look out the door or look out the window and look at all the green grass that people were mowing and all the parking lots, and it really made me mad. And I was like, man, we should be like, I found God through nature, you know. And so I never really got when people said the only way to God is through Jesus. I never understood that. I was like, I found God in nature, but you know, so I don't think the only way to God is through Jesus. But I get it now, having like deciphered what that means and translated it essentially. And I figured like I got it. But what I think is important is to have that permaculture ministry where you're combining the two, and that's what our small group does, where it combines. It's like, hey, look at God in nature, you know, look at these patterns, look at this water, look at this thing, look at all these things working together in harmony. And also then take the people that like say there's people that only go to church but they don't like science and nature, and then there's people that only do science and nature and don't believe in God. And I think there's like a really cool opportunity to bring the two of them together. So I think a permaculture design course, like going through scripture, would be really cool. Absolutely, it'd be awesome.
One thing I told my mom's Christian, and one thing is I told her recently, when my friends use words like Christ consciousness and Jesus, but we're not really Christian. We have Christian roots, but we're not Christian. And so when I was using these words, like kids natural, my mom, I told her like if God is everything, God is atheism, science, like everything. It's not just Christianity. There's no box on God. God is everything.
Right. You know, I just you know, after seminary and all that stuff, I read C.S. Lewis, the Chronicles of Narnia series, and I got the very last book, the very last war, the Great War. And have you guys read this?
I feel like I know where you're going.
And you know, well, like you know, you had the dark malevolent force, and then you had the good force. Well, the main general in the dark force, after the battle's fought, he gets there, and he's like, he's so devastated because what he thought was good. And so the main good, Aslan, the lion, you know, looks at him and says, you know, I am good. I'm not a person. What you thought was good, like you thought you were serving with good intentions. You were serving with all your heart. You were serving me because you were serving good. I'm not a person. I'm everything. You know what I mean? And that right there wrecked everything that, you know, that I built and constructed around my Christian worldview. You know,
that particular passage that you're referencing for like similar.
Oh man.
I had a professor when I did ministry training, and one of the things that he said was basically that God doesn't need our permission or our naming to show up where they will.
Yeah,
And how they will, and like ultimately that comes down to qualities of who God is. You know, love is patient, love is kind, love is not self-seeking or good. But the fruit of the spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, right? And so like living abroad and seeing other people practice their faith, you're like, those are the qualities of God. They're not like burning incense to Jesus here, but like I can see, like there was a mall, and in front of this mall there was a big statue of Ganesha, and there were Hindu and Buddhists all in the same space, all in prayer, all like presenting themselves to God together, like not really judging anybody else for how they approach faith, right? Like, all right, this is God. God is here. It's good. God is present.
That's good. That is present.
Well, we are right at the hour on call. Shawn,
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for.
Sorry, we're a little late.
It's all good.
We good.
Yeah, I was just praying for y'all safety when that storm was coming in. Like,
It was fun. A lot of
We're just
lightning.
enjoying the hydroplaning as well.
And the white-tailed deer jumping in front of us.
like the trees don't let them breathe so that the window doesn't slow down.
We held our breath as long as we should.
All right. God bless y'all. Thank you so much for being here. This will be uploaded on YouTube at some point in the next week or so. So thank you again, but
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me, man. Always.
peace out, Street Scouts.
Just remember to permaculture your life. Permaculture, bye.